Are you moving to the cloud? Do you plan to move to the cloud? Let's look at some ways to get there. Okay, so everybody by now has heard and knows about AWS and the things that AWS can do. And that it's, you look at most web services, your app, it'll connect to AWS somehow. And you've got all your corporate stuff that you have in your data center in your corporate office, and you think, well, maybe we should move this, maybe we should take this and push it up to the cloud. Can that get us some more reliability? Can that get us, where you're thinking about, maybe it's a point where you're thinking about upgrading servers. You need, you're thinking about getting more bigger servers to better enhance your lab or your corporate environment. Would there be a benefit in moving to the cloud, and how do I get there? What are the steps to getting there? Okay, well, let's kind of look. I just have some little things kind of drawn here. So I've got a box here that kind of represents, okay, it's your data center. You got servers, you got maybe VMs on it, VMware or something running in this data center, and you want to move those to the cloud. So what are the different ways to do it? Well, you can do what I think they call it lift and shift or something like that. So it's just taking all of these servers that are here, and you just take all of them and you just convert them into AWS resources and move them to the cloud. So once they get to the cloud, though, they would not be servers anymore. They would be these little EC2 instances. So once you get everything up there, then it's just like, then it's a Windows box, it's whatever it is, just like it was before, but now it's in the cloud. So some of the problems with doing this are, how do you have all your users still in your corporate data center. They've got their desktop computer sitting here, in your data center. How do you get those users to connect? Typically what you're going to do, of course, is you're going to put in an IPsec tunnel. So if your data center, if your services that you're using, your applications that you're using are not already cloud-based, and you want to move them, to the cloud, and there's an endpoint that you can connect to them, they're like web-based applications, then you should be able to connect to them via the web normally. But if there's some type of hard application where you have database server, you've got a client application on your user desktop, and it connects to the database and reads and does things like that, then you're going to need probably an IPsec tunnel, one, to maintain security with your data, and two, in order to have that connectivity between your corporate data center and your cloud. So this is one way to do it. And if you don't want to move everything, so we're going to, maybe we're going to leave, some servers on premise, and we're going to leave those there, but they still need to be able to talk to servers in the cloud. So then you would need this IPsec tunnel in order to keep everything connected and keep everything working. Now, if you have some applications that are web-based, like .NET or Node.js or something that you've written, then you can take those applications and deploy them in what they call Elastic Beanstalk. So instead of just taking the server and copying it, making a clone of it and then deploying it into AWS, you take the code itself, deploy it into an Elastic Beanstalk. So Elastic Beanstalk provides a lot of great functionality. One, you can put the endpoint onto the internet, add some security so that only your public IP addresses can get to it. Different things like that. It also has scalability. So if I deploy something in Elastic Beanstalk, it's backed by a whole complete environment. It has the load balancer in front of that. Then that load balancer can distribute those requests between 2, 3, 4, 10, 20 different servers that are in AWS depending on load. And then as the load goes up and down, it'll spin up more servers. And then when the load goes down, it'll reduce the number of servers. So it provides some flexibility and expandability that maybe you didn't have running that code, locally in your own environment with the load balancer and everything in front of it. So that's, kind of an elastic Beanstalk thing, allows you to do that. From there, you have that environment, and if you want to be able to create elastic Beanstalks and you want to define how everything is before you go, you can put in front of that, you can use something called cloud formation. So this, you kind of define what your environment is going to be in cloud formation. So I know, like here on my local network, my local environment, I have these 4 servers. These 4 servers have certain databases, certain ports open, certain users, certain specific software applied to them. I can take them as a group and bundle them together and define them in CloudFormation. And then the CloudFormation can then define a certain number of elastic Beanstalks. It can define a certain number of regular servers and databases. It can define all of that. So if you have an application that maybe needs to be repeatably deployed, like if it's a customer application that you provide to someone, then you can use CloudFormation to deploy that for one customer. Then once you have that CloudFormation done, you can make just very few variable changes and deploy it, the same thing, identically over and over again. If you have things that need to be repeatably deployed, like maybe it's a test environment, you want, okay, we need, this database, these servers, deploy this software, and here's the software version, go. CloudFormation can go spin all of that up and then give you the endpoints for where you need to, do your software testing. Then when you're done with it, you say just delete the CloudFormation and all the servers and everything go away and are deleted. So you can actually build this into your, if you're a company that writes software, like you can build this into your software testing so that you just call the CloudFormation, boom, it goes out, makes the servers. Then when you're done, you delete the CloudFormation and all of that environment just crumbles and goes away. Okay. So some of these things about how you move to the cloud are definitely going to depend on what your product is that you develop, or if you provide a service, maybe it's just infrastructure that you're moving. If you're doing Office, you could then, instead of going to AWS with Office facilities like Exchange, hosting Exchange in AWS, you might as well just go ahead and buy Office 365 at that point, right? But if you have some other specific things like databases and things like that, you can still just slowly move them over if you have this IPsec tunnel. So if you have things that functions that you can trigger by, this happens, then I need this code to run. You don't even have to, there's a way in AWS to not even worry about that. That's some of these that are just like services that are triggered, like an if this then that, out on the internet. But you could build kind of your own with code here, and that's AWS Lambda. So AWS Lambda, you upload your code to AWS Lambda or write code in the Lambda editor, set up your code to trigger from other AWS services like HTTP endpoints or some app activity. Then once that trigger happens, then Lambda runs your code, and it only uses resources when that code is triggered, and then you're just paying for the actual individual compute time. So that is still another way to take and use AWS. We have this thing that goes on, and this fires, and we need to, once this fires, like this shipping goes out, then we need to run this process and push orders and whatever else you're doing. You can have a Lambda function that just sits out there and okay, I see this happen, and then it just goes and runs this code and does the other function. So that means you're not building servers, you're not building environments, you're not building any of these other things. All you're doing is what you would like the cloud to natively do is just say, I've got this piece of code and I need it run based on an event. So you just take the code, put it in Lambda, and when that event happens, then boom, off the code runs. So you're not worrying about servers, you're not worrying about load, you're not worrying about scalability, you're not worrying about any of those things. But some of these things, like Elastic Beanstalk, Lambda, all of these things take development time. All of these things take time to put in place, do testing, get your quality, set up so that it, everything works correctly all the time. So if you're wanting to move faster to the cloud, then, just the easier thing, maybe just, okay, let's just take our 4 servers and then get them out there into the cloud, and then we can take these and, then we'll decommission those, right? So you can do it, that way if you were trying to push, faster. And then as you get, different pieces redone, I can take this one server here. Okay, that's good. We're going to make that one now an Elastic Beanstalk, and then slowly transition over to these more native AWS services. So it's going to be kind of in a time frame that you want to take it. If you really want to get to the cloud fast, you can just lift all the stuff and then put it up there. If you want to slowly move to the cloud, you can take your servers, say, look at each function, right? Okay, so this function here, this is a web application that we're going to be, we have running. So we're going to take that and convert that into an Elastic Beanstalk. This is a database. We're going to convert that into an RDS, a Amazon database. So, this is another like regular standard application that we use. We're going to be running that down the IPsec tunnel and putting that up there. This server just runs a couple of simple tasks, so we're going to convert that to a Lambda function. So you can do it slowly like that. If you're not like I said, if you're trying to move off of hardware, like you've got old hardware, you need to get it on something else faster, then you just do the whole lift and shift and move. If you've got time and you're going to be thinking about, okay, let's go through each service that we have and find what specific methodology we want that to use in AWS, then you can do a slow move over. And you can do a combination, right? If you have a box, a server here that is like, wow, this one's like really old, it's dying or whatever, so get that one moved over to AWS sooner, and then do the other pieces of moving Elastic Beanstalk and Lambda functions and stuff, later, as you need to. So there are many different ways. It's going to all come down to your business need and what you need to be able to do with AWS and how each piece fits into your business model, right? So if my business model is moving fast and I need to keep it up and running, maybe I move things a little bit faster. Maybe I bring on some extra developers for a while and get these things moved over. Or if it's okay to, move it slowly, it's definitely just going to depend on what you're comfortable with moving to AWS or even Azure. Azure has some of these similar functions in getting load balancers and things up, but I know AWS has all this stuff. So it just depends on where you're moving and how fast you're moving. Whether you want to just move your lab out there because you don't want to build environments and then take environments down. That takes time for someone in the lab to create a server and things like that. Or you've already maybe you have some type of automation that goes and allows it to do that, but maybe not. So if you have a way to deploy stuff for your lab for testing software, just launch a CloudFormation and boom, you can go and test your software. And then when you're done, you take it away. Maybe that works pretty well for you. But I would explore all the different options, see what you need to move sooner rather than later. And, you can do the lift and shift and just move it out there. If it's definitely a function that you can break down and have time to recode, or even just some web code that works, you can simply deploy that in Elastic Beanstalk and boom, you've got a highly available, resilient application, done. So that's one of the strengths and powers of AWS, one of their superpowers, I guess. So, all right. Well, thanks for watching this. This is kind of stuff that I deal with all of the time, how to move stuff and where to move it and what kind of application it goes on. And I've been doing AWS for a couple of years. I have a lot of PowerShell things and other videos about how to use AWS and program it and get it to do things by scripting. Some of those videos are all in my channel. So if those interest you, then just subscribe to my channel and hit the little bell. Then when I make these new videos about this stuff, then you'll be able to get it and be able to watch those. And if any of them help you out, just give me a comment, thanks, it helped me out. Or if you have any questions, just comment, tell me, if there's something else that wasn't clear or whatever that you need some help on yourself, just let me know. And then my channel's small enough that I can, kind of be one-on-one and be able to clarify and help people with things. So that's been kind of, really great having this channel. All right. Well, thanks for watching this one today and take care.